Hi guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a CI/CD pipeline using Microsoft Azure. So for this tutorial there are two things you're going to need. The first one is a GitHub account and the second one is an Azure subscription. So if you haven't created a GitHub account, go ahead and create one and create an Azure subscription as well. So if you're using Azure for the first time, you're going to get a free trial for a year. Otherwise, if you're continuing the usage, then you probably have a pay-as-you-go account. So the first thing you need to do is create both accounts, GitHub and an Azure subscription. Right, so the next thing you're going to want to do is go log on to dev.azure.com and click enter. And if you're logging in for the first time, dev.azure.com, it will tell you to create an organization. So it's a simple process. You're going to have to give a name and click create, and it will create an organization for you. In my case, I've just created an organization. It's called Azure Devops. So if I look at that, I can just see the organization settings. So again, if you haven't got an organization, just create one. And yeah, that should be it for now. Right, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to have your repository on GitHub. Now, if you're using whatever kind of application you're using, make sure that it's on GitHub. It's all completed and it's on GitHub. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using, actually I've forked the GitHub repository. It's called node-express.azure. So I'm going to be using this for this tutorial. So I've forked it from my PFF. So I'm going to be using this. So right. So first thing you're going to need to do is go ahead, and if you just want to follow along with this tutorial, go ahead and fork this application. Or if you're using your own application, then you're going to have to follow a different method. So you're going to have to go onto your Azure portal and then manually deploy a pipeline from there. But in this case, the link is given below. Okay, so deploy to Azure. Go ahead and click on that. And once you click on that, it will deploy an ARM template and it will tell you to configure the ARM template. So you're going to have to set things accordingly and you're going to have to purchase a proper subscription. So yeah, just give it some time and it should load up. Okay, so now the ARM template has loaded. We're going to have to give in a few configurations. So go ahead and just configure it accordingly. So my subscription will be pay-as-you-go, but if you're on a free tier, it's going to be free. Resource group, I'm going to create a new one for now, and I'm going to name it for example, Azure Dev Demo. Right, so okay, you can name it whatever you want. Location, I'm going to keep it as Southeast Asia. So right, site host name, I'm going to host it as Node Azure Demo. Right, Node Azure Demo. And app SVC plan name, I'm just gonna do the same thing again here, SVC plan demo. So yeah, so once you do that, just go ahead, click on I agree to the terms and conditions stated above, and go ahead and click purchase. Just give it some time. Right, so as we can see, the deployment has succeeded and we can see the resource group. A new resource group has been created. The resource group is called Azure Dev Demo, and inside we have this. Right. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we want to create a build pipeline. So we've initialized our first Azure DevOps and we're ready to move on and set up a build pipeline. So basically head back to devazure.com and inside your organization, so in my case this is Azure Devops, create a project. So go ahead and create a project name, and your project name, just keep it the same as what you did over here. So in my case it was node-azure-demo. Description, do I need a description? Nope. And private, check on advanced. Version control, yep. Git and work item process, I'm going to keep it to agile. Right, so go ahead and click on create project. Again, this must be, just keep it the same as your initial one. Go ahead and click on create project. and give it some time, and it should create. Oops, so what happened? Go back. Okay, so it has created a project for me. So as we can see the project over here. So now we've created a new build pipeline. Right, so go and click on pipeline. So inside this project, click on pipelines and select builds. Alright, so click on new pipeline and it will ask you where is your code. Our code is on GitHub. So select GitHub. Alright. And authorize Azure pipelines. Yep. Click authorize. Right, so after it has been authorized, you're gonna have to select your repository. So in my case is Node Express Azure. I forked it. So go ahead and click on this. Right, approve and install. Yep, only select repositories and this. Yep, and approve and install. Right. Okay. Right, so now that we've selected our repository, it should show you a YAML configuration. This is your pipeline YAML. So YML file, right. So we already have an Azure.pipelines YML. So go ahead and look through this. This file contains all the settings that the build service should use to build and test our application. So go ahead and look through this, but you probably won't understand it, so that's not necessary. So after you click run, and just start off your first build, you should see a screen like the following. Just give it some time. Right, so it should prepare everything, and this should be your first build. So just go ahead and just give it some time, and there you go. Yeah. Right, so as you can see, the build has finished and the job was prepared, initialized, everything was installed, and it was finalized. So we have initialized our first build. So now what we want to do is we want to release the first build. So when you get into the release pipeline screen, you're going to need to select another template. So just go ahead and click on release. Right, so when you get on this stage, you're going to need to select a template. So I'm going to have to go ahead. Alright, so select this Azure App Service Deployment with Slot. Deploy your Azure Web App to a staging slot and swap slots to deploy to production. So go ahead and select App Service Deployment with Slot and click on Apply. And it should create your new deployment stage within the release pipeline. Okay, now I'm just going to change this to development. Pay as you go for now. And am I going to need to authorize it? Okay, I'm just going to go and click on authorize. Right, so I've authorized mine. And app type should be web app on Windows, web app on Linux. There is a lot to choose from. So I'm just going to go ahead and just select one. Web app on Linux. App service name. So what is your app service name? Right, your app service name is node-azure-demo. Oops. Node-azure.demo. Right. Resource group, it should be located over here. Azure Dev Demo. Okay, yep. And startup command is necessary for now. Go ahead, select this. Right. And slot should be dev, right? Oops, okay, dev. Right. Next, what you need to do is you're gonna need to remove this. And so highlight and remove the second deployment task. So click on this. And I don't think this is needed. So just go ahead and remove this. Right. And go ahead and click on save. Right, so this should be good enough for now. And go ahead and click on save. I'm just gonna save in all pipelines for now and click OK. Okay, so just give some time. And right. So, and then after we do that, we can head back over to the pipeline tab. So once we go back to the pipeline tab, we can see our development is over here and this pipeline is ready. So reviewing the deployment trigger. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to review everything. So just go ahead and click on to see if your continuous deployment trigger is on. So is it enabled? Yes, it is enabled. So just inspect this, make sure that everything is actually in place. It should be enabled by default. So right, so going forward, each new build will trigger a deployment to a development, right? So each new build should trigger a deployment. So I'm just going to create my own release for now I'm going to create my own first release for deployment. So let's just see what happens and try to create a release in order to allow it. So create a new release, right? So the pipeline, we can see it's in the deployment, right? And yes, this is the artifact, right? Right, so create. Give it some time. Right, so release 1 has been created. Just give us a few seconds. Right, so now that the development has succeeded, now that the first release has succeeded, we can use the public URL to check if the website is actually online. So I've gone ahead and just typed it in, and this is the public URL for me. And actually, as you can see, this fork website is actually online. This repository is actually online now. Right, so the next thing we're going to want to do is create a release stage for production. So just go ahead and follow along with me. So head back to the Azure Devops portal and go to pipelines and releases. Right, pipelines and releases. Edit. So edit this and highlight the development stage. So highlight that. Highlight this and click the drop down over here and click on clone stage, right? So click on clone stage. And stage name. So what is the stage name? I'm gonna keep it as production over here. Right. Now click on these. Click on these pre-deployment conditions. So you're gonna have to change a few things. So click on pre-deployment conditions, and go ahead and enable pre-deployment approvals. Okay. So enable these pre-deployment approvals. Right. So we've done this because we don't want automated deployments going straight into production. We're not building a continuous deployment pipeline for production. We're actually building a continuous delivery pipeline. So continuous delivery is a process that ensures our application is production ready, right? So next, click on the task link in the production stage, right? So click on the task link. Right, and unselect this, and yeah, voila, you should be able to save it now, and click on save when complete. No comment. Okay. Right, so now that you've actually set everything up, the next thing we're going to want to do is we want to validate the pipeline. And yeah, okay, so go into your GitHub account and try validating it, in the sense, try changing it and see if it gets actually deployed into the pipeline. So for this case, I'm going to go on to the views folder. Where is the views folder? Okay, go into the views folder and index.handlebars. And I am going to update the version as 2.0.0. Okay, so I'm going to edit this. 0.0.0, right. So I'm going to radically modify the code base for the app. And I'm going to commit the change, right? Commit change. Right, so I've committed the change. And this should trigger an automatic build and publish a deployment package. We can confirm this by reviewing the build status. Right, so after this commit, you should see a new build. So let's just go ahead and check. Pipelines builds. All right, voila. Now you can see here we've updated the index to handlebars, and it's actually in progress. So, but as you can see, it's actually working. So we've changed the GitHub code. So just give it some time. Right, so now you can see that the build has been created. As you can see, we've actually done everything properly. So we've actually initiated, or we've actually configured a CI/CD pipeline, and it was actually a very big tutorial. So the next thing you need to do, so you need to get production approval. So go ahead and check on releases. So yeah, it automatically creates a release for you. Right, so as you can see, the build has been created. So we've changed the GitHub code and a new build was created, and now it should be initializing a new release. So let's check. Yep, so release 2 is actually developed and it's in production progress. So what do we need to do? We need to production approval pending on you. So we gave it as a production approval. Can you remember when we created a new production, we said that without approval it cannot be deployed. So go ahead and click on this and approve. Yep. So any change that you do, it will create a build, and then before it gets released, it will ask you for approval. So once you click on approve, your deployment should be successful. And just go ahead and validate release 2. Right, so just give it some time. Production is in progress. Right, so the production is successful. So I'm just to test it, I'm going to go ahead and check on the URL. As you can see, this is version 1.0.11. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh it and see what happens. Right, so this is version 2.0.0. So okay guys, so we have successfully created a CI/CD pipeline. So any change that you do on GitHub, and you should be able to create a build on Azure, and it will, before it releases the build, it will ask you for approval. So according to this tutorial. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial, and if you have any questions, just let me know below, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.